the time and fairness to me screwing that up in the beginning. So, all right. This one is addressing state senators. If elected, how will you address the fentanyl crisis, support awareness, education, and prevention, and stop supply and suppliers of deadly drugs? And what do you see as the best solution to this? And do you already have a plan? If so, what? I think you kind of get the nature of the question. This is towards the state senate candidates. And just to be prepared for the state rep candidates, there is a very similar question that's pretty much the same thing, very similar. So be prepared for that.
Fentanyl is a major plague. I've seen and know nurses in our department that have lost their children to it. It has killed so many Americans, and I don't like killing people. What's happening with these people that are bringing these drugs in the country, they are killing our kids, our younger people, and to be honest, there's older people dying of fentanyl overdoses also. We need, what's happening with the drug boats and stuff, it's making a dent in fentanyl coming in, and there's Americans dying every day because of it. I'm 100% for ending the fentanyl coming in. We also need treatment programs, which are grossly lacking for mental health issues, and mental health ties in with a lot of the substance abuse stuff, and all that stuff needs to be addressed, and we need to do a better job than it's been done with it in the past. Thank you.
Like I said at the beginning, I support President Trump in most of the decisions that he makes, and bombing those boats coming in, that may be an issue for some, but I do think, like Sam said, I think it's starting to cut down the amount of drugs that are coming into this country. People need to understand that our borders are closed to drugs, and we need to continue to do that. I carried a bill this year which took the knowingly out of statute that said that a prosecutor had to prove that a drug dealer knowingly knew that there was fentanyl or a mixture of drugs in dope that they sell to kill people. That's almost impossible. I carried a bill this year, and very few times does a bill pass the first year and this passed. And it's on its way to Beverly Hills dust. And Senator or Representative Kelly carried another fentanyl bill, and it's on my list to file if I'm elected as president.
Can I speak? Absolutely. Some of the fentanyl questions.
Fentanyl question.
Yes.
We got to be more chance of
Ryan, state rep.
Yeah, sorry, Ryan Hagedorn,
Yes.
running for state rep. Sorry, 125th.
Let's see that question. If elected, how will you address the fentanyl crisis, support awareness, education, and prevention, and stop supply and suppliers of deadly drugs? That's a great question. And first, what I want to say is that, well, I recognize the great efforts which our local sheriffs and sheriff deputies and police officers are doing to a great degree, and I want to thank them for that. I also want to encourage them to push for more arrests and to also something which Laura Woody is here, which she's championed, because, and she said that we actually have to investigate drug poisoning deaths as murders. And that's something which I am 100% supportive of, because if a drug dealer gives drugs to somebody and that person dies from those drugs, that's not an overdose, that's a poisoning and it's murder. And the law should reflect that. And I support any change to the Missouri legislature and Missouri law which addresses that. Now, I think we need harsher sentencing is a big thing, which I'm pushing for. Because, and I've talked to a lot of local law enforcement, local sheriff's deputies, and they said that it's the same crimes, it's the same criminals, and which we are rounding them up for. And this is cyclical, it's a loop, and we want to break that loop. And so I know Jake Dawson, the sheriff deputies, may speak here highly of his sentencing. However, they said that it's the higher courts which are the issue, because the higher courts are not addressing and are not providing long enough sentencing for these criminals who are dealing these drugs. So we need longer mandatory minimums, in my opinion, for these issues, and we have to recognize that drug poisoning deaths these aren't overdoses, these are murders, and they should be prosecuted appropriately.
All right, before we get to the specifics, let me just roll through here a minute and look and see which ones are directed. Okay, so here is. Yeah, what would you?
He said that he's actually 127.
Yeah, here he is.
Yes.
127, he's Southern District.
The senators and then you said, hey,
Ryan, turn me on.
you're okay, you're okay. So I have a huge passion for fentanyl, not because of any personal story for me, but from Laura Woody. She has told me so many things that have really changed my perspective on the struggles that people in our community have. I've lived a very blessed life, and it's a good wake-up call to hear what other people go through and the tragic deaths that people have. I am totally for supporting a local law enforcement. I think they do an amazing job. I think there needs to be some accountability on making sure that criminals go to jail for the appropriate amount of time, they're punished, similar to what Ryan said, similar to what the Senate candidate said. I also believe that we need awareness for our coroners. And our coroners need to have training and be appropriately trained so that they can make sure that these deaths aren't missed. Laura Woody's son, I hope she's okay with me saying this, her son is not part of the fentanyl deaths statistics because the coroners weren't trained the right way. And I have never been through coroner training, very clearly because I'm not a coroner, but we need to make sure that people like that, their voices are heard. And we can do that on our local level. I'm 100% pro-life. That's not just in the womb, but that is our people struggling with addiction, that's our elderly, that's everyone in between. Thank you.
I have to admit, I'm not really well versed on the fentanyl crisis, but I will say I see a lot of people using drugs, and I see a lot of damage to families whose family members have been using drugs. I really think we need to support our mental health more in Missouri, spend money on mental health. I have a couple friends who are psychologists, and they have a real problem with finding beds for people who need the care and the long-term care. So I think that we should pay attention to mental health and support our families.
All right, thank you all. I think most of it has been said. I think we're in a unique spot. I think from the fentanyl, what I would say tragedy across the state is we got to have state working with local. I think nonprofits, I think having advocates like Laura come up to the state, work with us, voice our concern on bills that we're facing is absolutely imperative. And I don't know from the state standpoint if that's more funding to locals, if that's education. We need to encompass all of those and make sure we work and have the flexibility with those that are boots on the ground. Counties, areas, rural, urban, suburban, no other areas the best. So we need to make sure we kindle that relationship, work with those people that have gone through these tragedies, making sure that we keep funding out there, we keep education at the forefront of the problem going on. With every state being a border state right now, we believe the policies have changed that, but we're reactionary right now. We've been reactionary for some time on how we address it and how we get ahead of it. We've done some things. I'm glad they talked about increased sentencing. We've done that. We've increased sentencing for trafficking. We've done prison sentencing. And that's only a small part of the advocacy and work we have to do to continue to address this matter.